name change,
Yeah.
which was from Johnston, Johnstone to Johnson.
I do remember when this relative of Grandpa's mother came and she had some of the records that anybody had looked into up to that time, and she gave all of that to Wally's mother, and then he ended up with it, and she didn't do anything with it either. And so,
Well, that was, I think, Daisy.
yeah.
Okay, right now we're standing in the ruins of what's known as Lochmaben Castle, or also Lochwood Castle, next to Castle Loch, which is lake, for those of you Americans watching. This castle has a very long history, and we're on the borderlands between Scotland and England. So this area has seen a tremendous amount of battles fighting between the English and the Scottish border clans, which are a distinct culture from the Highland clans and the Lowland clans, and they were very skilled raiders and defenders of the border here in the western marches of Scotland. Now, my connection to this castle is that my family originally is Clan Johnstone, though my particular family has been in the United States for several hundred years. This is originally where the Johnstone clan resided in this general area. Now, Lochwood Castle, as it is also known, was kind of the heart of the Johnstone clan, though they served under various kings of Scotland, most notably Robert the Bruce, of whom they were a major supporter. This is the exterior walls of the castle. Some parts are very clearly have fallen off. That would have been, looks like the corner there, and over there there's another big mound that would have been that wall. It's not a huge castle, and it was largely a defensive castle for invasion, either against the English or from the Scottish side, both sides. They fought over this castle a lot because it was on the border. One of the interesting and tactical features of the location of the castle is the castle lock right over here, which would have served a very defensive purpose, as would the moat in the front, which we will walk around and take a look at. It's clear that the water levels now are a little lower. The old paintings, which are few, but there are a couple, would indicate that right on the other side of the castle was the loch, whereas now it's more of a swampy area due to waters receding a bit. Pretty smart place for a castle, really. I could have thought of this myself. This would have been the center courtyard of the castle, not covered, whereas the sides, one can tell from the quarried stone where the walls are, and so there were rooms enclosed on the sides. From what it looks, where we'd be walking through a doorway here and then into a room on this side. Terry and I have a notion maybe this was a kitchen. We don't really know. Could have been a bedroom, could have been a guard room, storage room. At this point, it's pretty hard to say, but obviously you must have the necessities of life, things like a kitchen. so it's a possibility. Then as we go this way, because of the decay, the ruins, the wall would have gone this way and into either another room, or perhaps it was the same long room. Though from the look of how the wall juts here and how we're lacking any real stones evident here, that it probably was 2 rooms. You can tell quite a bit where the quarried stone is. Gives you a good idea of where the actual walls were at the time. Of James VI of Scotland, who then became James I of England, the castle then fell into disrepair and disuse because it was no longer needed as a frontier fortress. Due to their service to the nobility, at one point they became recognized as a clan, and the clan chief was then named Lord Johnstone, and from that point, Lochwood Castle was basically a protectorate of the Johnstone clan. They probably didn't live here all the time. They were really more of the guardians of the castle, and as this was not any kind of a royal residence, it was probably inhabited by a lot of the Johnstones a lot of the time. Being that this is a border clan, there was constant battle. This castle has been besieged, burned. Obviously, we kind of let it go to hell at the time. It's in the process of some, I hesitate to say restoration, but trying to keep it from completely falling down. We're guessing that as we're walking in here, this was the Great Hall, or one of the dining rooms, an area that they would have gathered for meals and drinking. Again, we don't know for sure, that's a guess. From the energy of it, I get that notion of it, and also the layout of the castle, looking at it from above, the floor plan, would make me think that this was an area, meeting room of some type. It was obviously enclosed, whereas the center courts of the castle were not, would have been where they did their blacksmithing, got the horses ready, and a lot of the other daily life in a castle. So, pretty cool, really. I can kind of see, the various family nobility gathered around here. I kind of wonder if their sense of humor was as bad as the American Johnsons. Johnstone or Johnstone, there are various spellings throughout Scotland. In many cases was shortened or became Johnson, as in the case of our family, which we do have some specific history about because of a journal left by what I believe is my great-great-uncle. As the castle's fallen into disrepair due to weather, winters, and undoubtedly siege, you can see that this interior wall is not what would have been visible and seen in its heyday. It would have been the quarried stone like here, which is the outer part of the inner wall. A lot of that was quarried when it fell into disuse by the locals, and they say that many, in fact, probably most of the old houses in the area of Lochmaben, Lochwood, have some of the stone from Lochwood Castle. Moat and the drawbridge. This was the moat. We can see the arches where the water would have come in and would have connected to the castle lock at that point. And so right beyond it was the water of the lake, which then flowed into the moat. And there we can see what surely was the drawbridge. Every good castle needs a drawbridge. It's a little mucky now. They seem to have a problem with blue-green algae around here, which is probably the smell that Terry keeps commenting on. Originally, there was what they call a motte castle on the site, and that would have been in front of us, which is now an open field. But when the castle then was built in stone, that would have remained as a defensive perimeter and where a lot of the people would have lived, stayed, that worked in the castle or were largely military at that point. The Johnstone clan served as light cavalry and raiders along the border, and the clan was particularly supportive of Robert the Bruce, who became Robert, King of Scots. This would have been the actual moat that I'm standing in. Over time, as the castle has been restored and reconditioned as much as can be, we've had to put a road here, and so the moat would have continued clear out that way to connect with the loch. There's still some nasty water in here, but I don't think I'll be going for a swim. I find the arches particularly impressive. And I can definitely see how defensive this was and would have been used.
I had to go clear back to early Massachusetts census type records that are handwritten and 200 years old. You've seen this stuff.
Yeah.
I think you've been in knee deep in some of it.
Yeah, it's really interesting.